Last night versus the Clippers, the Heat started the third quarter down 7 points, but then we went on an offensive explosion that we've become accustomed to seeing from this Miami Heat team. Except this time, it was also paired with the defensive identity that I've come to expect, given the personnel that we have with guys like Bam Adebayo and Wiggins and Davion Mitchell and Pella Larson, among others. So in today's video, I want to break down that portion of the game and show you exactly why this Heat team is so scary when they're firing on all cylinders. And keep in mind, this wasn't against some scrub opponent. It was against the stacked Clippers. And I put stacked in quotation marks because I've never been the biggest believer in them, but they still have some really nice defensive pieces in Kawhi Leonard, of course, Derrick Jones Jr., Chris Dunn, and Zubac, who I think was a DPOY finalist last season. And right now on FanDuel, the sponsor of today's video, he's actually listed at 15th to win Defensive Player of the Year. So they definitely have some really nice defenders on their team that the Heat just weren't afraid to attack. So we'll start here with the Heat down 7 just a minute into the third quarter, as you're going to see Pella Larson read the passing lanes beautifully. He has a perfectly timed steal and easy breakaway dunk. This is a play that's very reminiscent of what Jimmy Butler used to do a ton here, just playing those passing lanes. And the whole time James Harden is bringing the ball down the court, you're going to see Pella Larson eyeing him. So immediately as Harden goes to pass the ball, Pella's already in his breakaway route and just a perfectly timed steal. And the Clippers don't even attempt to get back because they're a low effort team. So easy dunk by Pella Larson to cut the deficit to 5. Bradley Beal would hit a 3 to make it an 8-point lead, but the Heat, in an effort to not give the Clippers any momentum, attack right away as Davion Mitchell gets a great left-hand finish at the rim to cut the deficit to 6 now. You can see as soon as the ball's coming down the court and Pella swings it to Davion sees James Harden on him, a matchup that he loves, and he's able to get a step on him. And even though Bam is kind of in the paint here, meaning Zubac is hanging out, Davion is just so quick that Zubac has no time to react. And I love the fact that the Heat were attacking a mismatch because for years, I've said it many times, we've seen Duncan and Tyler Hero get picked on. So I just wish the Heat would pick on some of the poorer defenders on the other teams. And that's exactly what we saw this time with Davion taking old man James Harden to the rack. There was beautiful spacing on that play. And now with the Heat down 6, you're going to see some beautiful perimeter defense, which is going to lead to Pella Larson getting another steal. It was also a bit of a stupid pass from James Harden, I'm not going to lie, but you get great ball pressure from Norman Powell up here. He's going to go ahead and swing the ball to Zubac, who hands it off to Harden. Bam does a great job to hedge here. So he's kind of, blocking off the passing lane to Zubac, but also cutting off the baseline drive from James Harden. And I want to rewind it a second here too, because I want to point out how well Davion does getting over this Zubac screen. I mean, Zubac is going to slip a little bit early, but Davion is also elite at getting around screens. And when the screen is as big as Zubac is, a guy with a big body, that's not easy to do, although Zubac does slip a little bit early. So Bam does a nice job to hedge. You're going to see Pella leaving Bradley Beal open in the corner just because he's on the complete other side of the court as where James Harden is. So if Harden wanted to do a cross-court skip pass, Pella would have enough time to recover over to Bradley Beal. That's why he's helping out in the paint, because he knows that the Harden-Zubac pick and roll is so lethal. So the Heat are cutting that off by having 3 defenders here. So Harden's going to try to roll it to the open Beal in the corner. It's a bad pass. Pella gets the steal and immediately is going the other direction. And now Bam's going to have a very nice jump hook at the post over Zubac to cut the deficit to 4. I want to give Bam lots of credit up for this one because I've been very hard on him about his post game because I still don't think it's great. But we saw him a few nights ago have a jump hook over Wemby, now a jump hook over Zubac. These are good defenders that he's doing this over. So maybe we're finally starting to see some improvement in that part of his game. Beal's going to help at first, but then go back out to Wiggins because Wiggins actually ended up hitting a few threes in this game. So he is a threat out there. You're going to see James Harden, Kawhi actually start to come for the double here because he feels comfortable leaving Pella Larson because Pella would end up hitting a 3. But we know he's not the most respected shooter yet. So Kawhi feels comfortable reaching, but it's sort of a soft commit. Bam's able to spin away from him over his left shoulder and get great touch on that. Look at that. Great elevation on his shot, and that allows him to raise up over Zubac and knock it down. So now with the Heat down 4, you're going to see them force one of their many turnovers that they had this quarter as Beal's going to double dribble after getting switched onto Bam after the Zubac pick. You're going to see Powell get screened screen right here. Bam does a phenomenal job stepping up, forces Bradley Beal to double dribble, and I think they initially called it a kick, but after the whole Heat bench went crazy, the officials ended up overturning it. You can see right here, Bam has a great closeout. Beal is used to having space off a switch when he has a slower-footed big man on him, but that's not the case here. He quickly realizes he won't be able to get this shot off, and that's why he double dribbles. And Bam with the active feed as well, but the Heat would get the stop here. And now you're going to see the Heat cut it to a one-possession game as Bam Adebayo has a beautiful pass to hit Andrew Wiggins' back door after a perfectly timed cut. This whole play is going to happen because of all the attention that Bam is drawing offensively. We just saw him have that post hook on Zubac, so now the Clippers defense has to really key in on him. You're going to see him set the screen here, slip it a little bit early, but he's going to catch the ball off the roll from Norman Powell. And then you can see all 5 Clippers defenders are basically looking at Bam. Kawhi stepped up a lot because they want to try to contain him, but Bam has the great vision and awareness to hit Wiggins' back door. And this is also just pretty bad communication on the defensive end from the Clippers. So now we have a 2-point game, and the Heat are going to force another turnover as Andrew Wiggins' active defense forces Bradley Beal to do a little bit of a moving screen. I won't lie, I think this one was a bit ticky-tack. I certainly think Beal's form on the screen wasn't the best. As you're going to see Beal start to approach here, he kind of puts his arms out. I know he's covered by Pella, but he kind of sticks his arms out a little bit. That's not how you set a screen. The screen should be mostly with your chest, with your body. But Wiggins is also grabbing a little bit there as well. But you can argue Beal got in his way first. Wiggins is sort of going to push off him to get around the screen. But fortunately, this call would go the Heat's way this time. But this all started because of Andrew Wiggins being active defensively. And when you're active, when you're trying to get around screens, you will force a lot of offensive fouls on the other team. So this time with the Heat down 2, they would not play around and they would take the lead back right away, as you're going to see a beautiful pick and pop from Davion Mitchell to Bam Adebayo, who gets the lucky bounce on the 3. And sometimes that's just what you need to get momentum on your side. You're going to see Bam come up instead of the screen on the right side of Beal. Zubac is going to play very far off because, one, Zubac is a slow-footed big who likes to play drop coverage, and one way that you can attack that is by shooting threes in the top of the key like Bam is doing here. So I love how how they were able to take Zubac off his game a little bit. But Zubac also knows he has to help because we've seen Davion take his man off the dribble a couple of times already. So all that aggressiveness from Davion earlier is now forcing Zubac to help back a little bit, and that's going to leave Bam Adebayo wide open here, who Bogey's reaction on the bench is just hilarious. As you can see the ball bounce in, he has his eyes looking up. So you can just see the Clippers getting demoralized in real time. So now the Heat are up 1. They would force a miss on Kawhi. And the only reason I'm showing this play is because I noticed multiple times where Kawhi would try to flop or exaggerate contact. This is one of those times. Look at him right here. There's no contact at all. He's raising up in his normal form. And then out of nowhere, you're going to see him kick his legs back and flop his head back. What could Norman Powell have possibly done to make him do this motion? It's just these guys look so stupid when they flop. How officiating misses this type of thing consistently, I don't know. They didn't miss it this time. They didn't bail out Kawhi. They didn't call a foul. But so many times they do, and it's just annoying. And when you can actually go back and watch film and slow it down, you see how absolutely stupid these players look. Look, perfect form, no contact, flop. Just a ridiculous play from Kawhi Leonard, and it's plays like this that should be a technical. You know, they instilled the technical for flopping for a reason. That should have been called. The Heat would end up fouling on the rebound, though, so the Clippers retain possession. Beal hit a 3 to take the lead. But shout out to Andrew Wiggins because the very next play, Wiggins hit a 3 to take it right back, and this one was set up by a beautiful off-ball screen from Pella Larson. When we always hear Spo talk about the little things that Pella does, this is what we're talking about. We know Spo loves Pella. We see him starting him, and I've heard Heat fans say, hey, why is Pella starting? He only got 2 baskets. You know, you should put a guy out there like Jaime Jaquez who's getting you 17 points a game. And maybe that would work too, but these are the little things from Pella Larson that cannot be overstated. It looks like the Clippers are playing a little bit of a zone right here because you're going to have Derrick Jones Jr. in the bottom right, Zubac in the middle, Kawhi on the bottom left. Derrick Jones is going to chase around this Bam screen because he knows Norman Powell is such a lethal shooter down here. But James Harden is going to be late to going back to his top left zone because of the off-ball screen from Pella Larson, which you're going to see right here. because Beal should be on the top right, Harden should be on the top left, but the Heat are spacing the floor in a way and moving around so often that it throws this Clippers zone out of whack, and that allows Pella Larson to get into position where he can screen Harden. And I want to note how Pella is actually pointing out to Davion Mitchell, hey, I'm screening for Wiggins. Give Wiggins the ball. Very high IQ play from Pella Larson, and shout out to Wiggins for taking the lead right back. So now the Heat are up 1, and this is when we started to really see the defensive intensity kick it up a notch as Norman Powell has a beautifully timed steal. As soon as Zubac turns his head, you're going to see Zubac catch the ball here in the high post. He's going to look for Bradley Beal coming around up top and then baseline and then back around up top, but Pella Larson is on him like a shadow. There's no space to get that pass off. You're going to see Pella absolutely shadow him the whole play here like a beautiful CB would. And then CB meaning cornerback, not Chris Bosh. Chris Bosh wasn't the most agile perimeter defender. Great interior defender, though. But Pella Larson is going to force Beal to come upside here. That already means there's almost no space here, so Zubac has to keep this ball close. Instead, he keeps it out a little bit, but because Norman Powell sees Zubac turn his head, he knows that he has a free steal here. He's going to tip the ball right here. It's going to go off the Clippers ball out of bounds, and the Heat would get possession. And now the Heat would build on their lead even more after Bam Adebayo converted an and one off a beautiful pick and roll pass from Davion Mitchell. So it was nice to see the Heat go back to the pick and roll a little bit more as things did start to slow down in the second half. You see multiple passes early on that keeps the Clippers defense moving. That means that Bradley Beal is out of position in the paint, and he has no chance of stopping Bam Adebayo on this roll. Pella Larson does a great job spacing to the other side of the court so they can get into this two-man action. Beautifully timed pass from Davion as he's already in the passing motion as Bam has just now started his break to the rim. So throws a attempt right away. Bam goes aggressive there, doesn't settle for that stupid little one-handed push shot that he does so often, goes to the rim, gets the and one. And there's just a lot of options here. Even if the Clippers had rotated well, he still could have had Pella Larson open in the corner. You still got Wiggins open here. Point is, when you move the ball as often and quickly as the Miami Heat do, guys will be open one way or another. So shout out to Bam for finishing this one aggressively at the rim. So the Heat would go up 3 and they would force another turnover. This time it was Andrew Wiggins applying the pressure on James Harden. And what a luxury it is to have a wing defender like Andrew Wiggins. Think about what the Heat have defensively at every position. You have an active Bam Adebayo who's cutting off Zubac here. You have Wiggins as the on-ball defender, his lanky, long wingspan, locking down a guy as lethal as James Harden. And then you got the fast pitbull Davion Mitchell in the passing lanes, ready to help off on any second. He could immediately double James Harden, but Wiggins will be active with his hands, force James Harden to be loose with the dribble. Davion will get the steal, and Harden immediately takes a take foul out of frustration. So overall, great active defense from the Heat and just lazy play from James Harden. Bam would miss a shot. The Clippers will get the ball back, still down 4, and you're going to see Pella Larson play some of the best perimeter defense that I've seen since 2 plays earlier when Wiggins did it. You're going to see him get James Harden, one of the most lethal ISO players of all time, and he just does an impeccable job keeping his hands up and forces James Harden into the very difficult take. The Heat do a great job boxing out at the end and will retain possession. Look at Pella Larson keeping his arms vertical. James Harden is going to look to initiate the contact. Shout out to the refs for not bailing him out, and the Heat will get the ball back going the other way. So now with the Heat down 4, you're going to see some more active passing on the offensive side lead to a Clippers foul, and Norman Powell will knock down both free throws. The play is going to start with an inbound to Pella Larson, who's going to hit Norman Powell flying off this Bam screen. So because the Heat are being active, because Norman Powell is moving, the Clippers defense is not set. You're going to see Zubac kind of out of position here, who he doesn't know whether he should drop back on Bam or come up on the ball handler and have Derrick Jones Jr. drop. So he's going to reach in the cookie jar because he's a slower footed big man. Norman Powell's going to realize that and immediately raise up, causing the ref to call a foul, and Norman would go to the line and knock it down. So now the Heat are up 6, and Kawhi would answer with a nice layup himself. But I want to know what happens at the end of this play, right? We'll start from the beginning, though. You're going to see Wiggins on Kawhi, Derrick Jones Jr. screen. Powell's going to switch on to him, and Kawhi does a nice job not to settle and gets right to the rim. But he's going to flop again, fly 4 feet into the stands, and that's going to lead to a break in transition. We'll slow down the end of it here as he's going for this drive right here. You see he has a normal wide open layup, right? Wide open layup. Look at the end how he kicks out it. Look, normal layup. He kicks out his left leg for no reason, trying to draw the foul. There's no reason he didn't go up straight with this. He's trying to flop, trying to draw the contact there. Because of that, obviously he trips and he falls, goes the other direction. And of course the Heat see that, so they waste no time getting into their offense, and that's going to leave Norman Powell wide open for three here. You're going to see Pella Larson pushing the pace down the court. The Heat have already crossed half court with only 2 seconds off the shot clock. The Clippers defense is not set. They're a man down because Kawhi hasn't come back. So of course when Norman Powell pump fakes, the Clippers are going to fly way past them. They're going to be a Pop-Tart. And Norman Powell's going to do what he does and knocks down the three. So now the Heat are up 7, and this is when I really got out of my seat as the GOAT, Pella Larson, picks Kawhi Leonard's pocket, then dives for the loose ball. That's going to allow Bam to end up tying him up. And what great handwork by Pella Larson on the defensive end to rip him without fouling. And shout out to him for diving to the floor first. You're going to see Zubac set the big screen here. Ideally, you want to get over a screen when you're guarding Kawhi because he's such a lethal shooter. But Zubac is such a big body. He's hard to get over. So what Bam's going to do is he's going to hedge a little bit here, meaning pick up Kawhi, but not fully commit. I think Bam does a nice job of that here. But then as soon as Pella Larson is able to recover, you're going to see Bam do a great job and get back to his matchup. So Pella isn't matched up with the big man. And then from then on, it's ISO ball. But Pella Larson has such great defensive instincts and hustle. Heat culture. Bam's going to tie him up, and Bam would win the tip, so the Heat would get possession. So with the Heat up 7, we're going to see another great pick and roll from Davion to Bam. Bam's going to slip the screen a little bit early, but because Zubac is playing so far near the rim in drop coverage, Bam has a ton of space on that push shot right there. And earlier, Bam was aggressive in getting to the rim and attacking Zubac, trying to draw fouls. That now Zubac also has to play off a little bit more, and that's going to allow Bam to get into his sweet spot right here. So sometimes that push shot floater is nice. I know earlier I said I don't like when he does it all the time, but when you're aggressive early, that's going to make this shot even more open. And then the more you hit this shot, well, Zubac eventually is going to have to come out to contest even harder, and that's just going to open up the drive game even more. So it's a give and take with this stuff. And I think last night, Bam had a great balance of that mid-range shot and also the three-point shot, but also being aggressive and getting to the rim. So now with the Heat up 9, you're going to see one of the best defensive team efforts I've seen in a long time where everybody's active, and it's going to lead to Zubac traveling probably twice, to be honest. But this whole play starts with great on-ball pressure from Davion Mitchell, who's going to get around this Derrick Jones Jr. screen. He's going to get over the Zubac screen, half the possession. Harden has his back to the entire court where he's not in a spot where he can do anything, can't shoot, can't pass with your back to the baskets. Zubac is going to come up and set another screen. Bam comes up immediately to do a great hedge. They're both going to double Harden here, force him to do a bit of a high pass to Zubac, which gives Pella time to recover. He does a great job to get his hand on the ball. No foul committed there. Bam immediately switches back to Zubac, who can't dribble, forces the travel, and look at the whole Heat bench get hype. You got Drew Smith standing up. Khalil Ware's like, damn. Kashad Johnson's going crazy. You got Norman Powell. You could see how much he wanted this. And you could see how bad they want this, man. The whole Heat bench is stepping up after this. And that's the type of camaraderie that I love to see. So the Heat up 9 with the ball. And now you're going to see Bam be aggressive. We just talked about how getting that little mid-range shot will help him get to the rim. And I also said how he did a great balanced attacking today. This is a great example of that. He has Zubac right here. Bam could easily settle for this 3 in the corner. Instead, he decides to wait for Zubac to step up a little bit. That allows him to get plenty of space on that first step. Immediately goes into Zubac and draws the foul. And now Jaime Jaquez checks in, and you're going to see him continue to be aggressive defensively as well. The whole Heat team is moving, and Pella Larson gets a steal before turning it over himself as well. But look at Jaime Jaquez with a great closeout to not allow the very athletic Derrick Jones Jr. to blow past him. Wiggins does a great job going back to his zone. Pella is all over the court like a free safety and is able to cut off Zubac and gets the steal. I want to note too how it's interesting that it looks like in this zone, Pella is actually playing middle, which is interesting because usually in the zone, it's your big man in that spot. But the reason I kind of like Pella there a little bit is because whoever's playing down low center in a zone has to be the most active with moving. Because when you're in the middle, you have to watch the front left, you have to watch the front right, your left, your right, you have to watch behind you, you have to watch all over the court. So you almost have to move around as a free safety so you're able to cover all these areas. And because Pella is so active defensively, and you pair that with the high basketball IQ, that allows him to get this steal here, which otherwise that would have been a bucket for Zubac. But the Heat completely cut off all the waters to the Clippers on this run. But even though Pella turned it over, the Heat would would still get another stop because Kawhi did another foul baiting tactic that's really frustrating to watch on these replays. You can see him try to pull up for 3 right here, where at first he's in his normal shooting motion, right? Raises up, feet are squared, and then for no reason, kicks his left leg out. When you shoot a jump shot, both feet jump forward. You don't take that left leg and swing it out. So this technically should have been an offensive foul because you're not allowed to kick your foot out like that as a shooter. He's trying to draw the contact by kicking Andrew Wiggins' leg there, who has a perfect closeout. So I do want to credit the rest on this time for not bailing Kawhi out after foul baiting once again. The Clippers would get a stop though and a basket their next possession, but Pella Larson does a great job just knocking down this 3-pointer here. This is supreme confidence by Pella, who you could tell his great stuff that he's done defensively is really carrying over to his confidence on the offensive end, as they're going to let Jaime Jaquez be the initiator on offense here. Immediately Wiggins clears out because, like we've discussed in previous film breakdowns, they want to give Jaquez the whole side of the floor to sort of operate and see if he can get downhill towards the basket, but he's going to swing it up top to Pella Larson here. James Harden is playing a little bit off because, of course, the scouting report doesn't say Pella's a shooter, but you at least got to step up a little bit. Beautiful form from Pella Larson, and just knocks it down with all the confidence in the world. And then the very next defensive possession, Pella Larson would draw a charge, and this is when I jumped up and started screaming. What an impact Pella Larson had in last night's game, as he was being aggressive, trying to get over the screen, just like we said with Andrew Wiggins earlier. And when you're aggressive and trying to do so, good things will happen. You can argue Pella went into him a little bit here as well. Pella kind of leaps forward to initiate the contact right here. But the reason I think this is an offensive foul is because on that dribble handoff, you do have to set a little bit of a screen, and Chris Dunn makes no effort to square his feet into setting that screen. He sort of just dumps the ball off and then continues with his forward path. He's not in legal screening position, and because of that, and because of Pella Larson's aggressiveness, the Heat will draw the offensive foul. And then for the last clip of this breakdown, you're going to see Davion Mitchell taking advantage of the old man Chris Paul and finish with another layup at the rim. So this time the Heat once again doing a great job of taking advantage of mismatches on the other side of the court, and it's beautiful to see for once. So that's all I really got to say in terms of the film breakdown. Of course, the Clippers did go on a run to get back into the game and actually take the lead later on, but the Heat played really well in the clutch to get their first clutch win of the season. So I'm feeling good. We do play the Denver Nuggets next, which will be a tough one. But if the Heat can beat the Denver Nuggets, oh, I'll be coming on this channel screaming championship. You better believe it. But for right now, I do think the Heat can still win the division, which right now on FanDuel, you can get the Heat to do that at plus 250. Those odds are dropping every day, so get in while you can. But that's all I got to say for this video, so make sure y'all subscribe if you enjoy and leave your thoughts down below, because I'm very curious to hear what y'all think. And also like, because your support helps a lot. That being said, I'll see you on the next one. Peace out, everyone.
Look, pull up in your city, tryna get that dead face. Do it on my own, I don't need no dead weight. Had to kill him off, yeah, I need a head space. You know this homegrown bitch don't offend me.